Today we're going to be talking about how we're using Lovable AI. If you haven't tried Lovable yet, it's a pretty cool platform where you're able to kind of build a front end application with really just a prompt, to be honest with you. But just like everything, right? Lovable, you need to have your own, I would say, you need to have your own way to use Lovable in the best way possible. And you really want to be super clear about how you want to go about building. So let me kind of share with you a couple of things. Okay. Let me see. And what I'm doing right now is before I do anything, right? You got to understand for any of these applications, every single time you make a request, it will cost you money, cost you credits, for lack of better words. And I want to make sure that when I'm doing something, I'm learning it as much as possible. So here we have, right? I went ahead and pulled up best practices that we should apply immediately towards how we prompt and build within Lovable. All right. Now, the interesting part about this is I want to get these three sort of one's a tutorial. Second, I like how this person talked about the best practices before you start anything with Lovable, which there are things such as, hey, make sure that you are setting up with Superbase authentication. Make sure you're setting up your backend database properly, right? And then I have another sort of tutorial that talks about how do you combine Lovable with NAN. Because when you can combine both, right, this is when you really get the best of both worlds. Because when you have NAN, it's almost a custom, very highly customized workflow tool that allows you to build anything. So I want to group these as sort of these are the best practices that I want to apply towards how I use Lovable. And that's how I will learn this at a hyper speed because I'm having Poppy group all these and say, hey, take these three videos that I personally like, how they explained it, and apply it towards what I want to do. Next, then I got assistance, right? So I've got a couple of things that I want to do. So what my goal right now is to create essentially how do I hire an assistant without paying the payroll, but have that assistant help me do all this research, right? Help me who I understand who I have connections with. Help me understand who within my connections has a connection to a company or to a foundation or to whatever target geographic area that I would like a relationship with, right? So that I can get a warm introduction. Because more importantly now than ever, cold outreach is going to work less and less because people now can screen phone calls, right? Cold calling isn't going to work anymore. Cold emails, people get thousands of emails every day. So it's very unlikely that they're going to go through their email to answer your email. It's warm introduction. How do you get back to the human to human connection? So a couple of features that I want to put out is boom, highest priority, right? Second highest priority. Now, here's what I'm doing. The first thing I provided Poppy was a website called Social Sweep. And if you look at what Social Sweep is doing, essentially it's going to go through your network and figure out who in your network has a relationship, has a connection. And then I can add into right here, okay, well, if I cannot get something from my existing network, my existing LinkedIn connections, how can I go on and look for more leads, more connections, more relationships to figure out who can I actually tap into to figure out what I need their help with, right? These are all the items that's going to be really, really, really important in how I create this. So let me kind of plug this in. Let me plug this in over here. So now it's all tied in together, right? And just for simplicity's sake, let me go like this, let me go like this, just kind of all lined up. I'll put this one down just in case the tutorial doesn't work. So it's, all right. So now I'm going to write, let me kind of narrow this. I don't need that much space. Okay. All right. Excuse me. All right. So now I want to write, boom. Let's talk through it. Let's use, not the mini, let's use GPT-5. Let's do it. Now, I have 600 credits left, but I'm going to go through it. All right. So here's what I want to do. I want to say, oops. Okay. You are a world-class Lovable app developer. On the left, we have provided 3 best practices and tutorials on how to best apply Lovable, including some of the best practices that we should apply is coming up with a prompt that addresses Superbase, the vector database authentication upfront, items such as how to anticipate, how do you get payments for your application, and also how to integrate and combine the power of Lovable and NAN, the workflow automation tool. Now, the second group that we have includes different features of other NAN applications, personal assistants, and a website or application called socialsweep.ai. Socialsweep.ai essentially allows us to pull in our existing network, go through it, and figure out, hey, whenever I'm going to a city, who do I already know in that network? If I'm trying to get on a podcast, who can I get to make that warm introduction? And specifically when it comes to fundraising or getting support or raising funds for affordable housing, I want this tool to be able to show me, hey, who knows who, so that they can make a warm introduction to that person. That allows me to figure out, okay, if I know person A and person A knows person B, and I know that person B really cares about affordable housing, and they will probably support my affordable housing cause, whether that's as a lender, as an equity investor, or even as a donor. How do I get in touch with person B, right? In order for me to get in touch with person B, I first need to know that person A has a relationship with person B. And secondarily, I need to know what that relationship is. And thirdly, I should probably make person A's life as easy as possible by asking person A to make a warm introduction, which might include me drafting a hyper personalized email or text message so that that person can put us in a group chat, right? Because that's how you build your network the right way. And if you think about it, right, what all fundraisers struggle with is they spend an immense amount of time researching their prospects, researching potential relationships, investors, and donors. And you really need the assistant to essentially, one, pick apart all the research, give you as much information about that possible that you can be prepared to have a valuable and fruitful conversation with that person. And that might involve scraping LinkedIn for certain leads, right? Because you might say, hey, I want to get in touch with the marketing leader, marketing director, or chief marketing officer of this company, or I want to get in touch with the HR officer of this company, or I want to get in touch with the C-suite leadership of this company, because I know that they care about affordable housing. And so I've created and added in different functionalities of different personal assistants from Nate Herc, because I really like how he explained it. And I want us to be able to apply it. So please ask me 3 to 5 clarifying questions that will help you do the following. As a world-class developer, please come up with a world-class prompt that incorporates all the best practices and the features and functionalities of a fundraiser assistant based off of what you have seen in all the videos that we've provided. Ask 3 to 5 clarifying questions right away so that I can answer them, so that you can come up with a world-class prompt that I can put into Lovable so that it can create an application that will allow a fundraising assistant to essentially take a user interface similar to Poppy.ai, where I have a sort of mind map user interface that allows me to simply say, hey, I have this board of director. I have this person on my board of directors, and please go through my list of board of directors, do all the research, and compare their network with one another's, with my network, with our C-suite network, in my company or my nonprofit, and help me understand how do I organize my daily workload. The research assistant should be providing on a daily basis an outline of who exactly do I need to reach out to, for what purpose, for such as, hey, I need to reach out to Jack because he's on my board of directors, because I know that he has a connection with the chief marketing officer of X company, or I know that he has a connection to the leader of this private philanthropic foundation for this company, or this private families foundation for this type of cause for affordable housing specifically. And that assistant will lay out for me with notes and timing of exactly who I need to reach out to. And also at the end of the day, some hyper personalized content research about that person so that I can figure out how to prioritize my day to day responsibilities as a fundraiser. Boom. Let's see if that actually comes up. I just kind of said that all out loud. Oh, this N8 and so this should be N8 and you just put clarifying questions. What are your primary data sources for building a network map? Boom. Okay, this is gonna be good. Let me go through all these questions. All right. Let's go for it. Oh, this is so good. See, this is how you make a better prompt. You ask it to ask you clarifying questions before you send in a prompt. So let me go to part one. So for your first section's questions about data sources and integration priority, what are my primary data sources? My primary data sources are going to be LinkedIn connections, company data, and also my email contacts, existing CRM data, manual input for board member names, their LinkedIn profiles, in addition to my personal ones, and also LinkedIn profiles or even Instagram or Facebook URLs that can allow me to sweep through my friend list or my board of directors friend list or my C-suite's friend list so that we can figure out what those key relationships look like, right? All of those above, all of those data sources matter. We need to have a very user-friendly interface that allows me to drag and drop all these different types of data sources so that it can be integrated appropriately. For a second section on user workflow and daily output format, how do you measure your daily workflow? Should the system generate a briefing, prioritize outreach recommendations? Create structured task lists with research, all of the above. For number two, it's all of the above. But at the very minimum, we are going to be selling the software solution to CEOs or development officers or decision makers for nonprofits, because now we can productize this because they can replicate this for each of their own business, where they should be able to take our product, our own user interface, and plug in their own item, meaning their location might be in a specific location. This allows us to tell them, hey, please do this same research for my own board of directors, which is custom to that company or affiliate. Please do this research for that geographic area. So all the Dallas companies might have different sort of headquarters compared to other cities. And the most important one is going to be that morning briefing with prioritized outreach recommendations. Ideally, they should even be time boxed, but that's okay if they're not. And in addition, at the end of the day, the personal assistant should be reaching back out to the fundraiser and say, hey, who did you talk to today? And that fundraiser does not have to record any sort of CRM data, because the assistant will essentially be able to gather all the data, put it into a spreadsheet so that that spreadsheet or that data in a table format can either be imported to a CRM or be easily used to report on the metrics for that fundraiser on how many meetings that they've had, how many calls that they made, how many outreach that they made, so that there's accountability on a fundraiser every single day. Now, relationship intelligence step. For the warm introduction pathway, how deep should the relationship analysis go? Basic connection, A knows B, B knows C. Yes, it should definitely have basic connection mapping. Relationship strength indicators. Yes, that would be nice, but it's going to be really hard to figure out what the relationship strength indicators are unless they've been on a podcast or in a picture together, honestly. If there is any interaction history or communication patterns, it's very unlikely that you're going to see that on social networks. But mutual interests and shared causes or investments, that might be easier to find depending on whether or not somebody's in real estate, somebody is in housing versus not housing, because people that support housing nonprofits are going to be very different than people that support animal nonprofits, as an example. The level of detail that's most valuable is for me to understand how the relationship maps, right? What is the basic connection mapping, such as A knows B or B knows C, and what are their backgrounds and what mutual interests or shared causes do they have? I think those are probably the highest and most in the data that we'll believe the most in, because a relationship strength indicator, that's unlikely going to be very high. So we should probably deprioritize relationship strength indicator until later. Format the prospect research in your section 4. Professional background and current role details are very important. The giving history is very important, but that's unlikely. We're unlikely going to be able to find that. But if the assistant can work on that, that's fine. But that's not the highest priority. The professional background and current role details are most important. Recent news, achievements, or company updates, that's really important because that allows me to figure out what's happening in their lives or in their companies that they care deeply about. And especially if there's good news, I want to be able to message those relationships, right? Those, because I consider them friends at that point, and just say congratulations. Or if they're having hard times in the company, I want to reach out and just send a message of care, just trying to tell them that we're friends. And yes, I do want to know what social media activity is, because if I know that they just did some activity or they just went to vacation somewhere, I want to just be able to follow up with them and talk about how the vacation was, like normal friends do. Investment portfolio, yes, I want to know that. So I would want to prioritize professional background and current role details, recent news, achievements or company updates, social media activity and personal interests, investment portfolios, or changes in board positions to the new or old board positions. So well, should this be subscription based? I think this should be subscription based. Yes, we do need team collaboration features because each company that purchases our software should be entitled to their own sort of database that allows them to drag and drop their existing board of directors, their geographic location and preferences, and also what their team looks like currently, so that they can figure out who within their team already has a connection to X person that will allow them to make a warm introduction. What level of data security and privacy controls? Yes, we do need data security and privacy controls because we want to make sure that the person or company that's using our software, we might have visibility into those folks' connections and relationships, but we don't want bad actors getting access to our customers' data very easily. That's it. That should have answered all your questions about how to create a comprehensive lovable prompt. Please do not hold back on the prompt length because we need to make sure it's comprehensive. It takes into account all the best practices, and it can deliver on all the different features and benefits, in addition to making this app productizable and scalable and super user friendly. And obviously, let the lovable prompt also have room for screenshots, because I think if we are able to provide a screenshot of how PoppyAI looks like, then we can show them what a great user interface looks like for someone that might be dragging and dropping their existing network or their connections. So this is what I do. This is how I hyper learn something. And I can kind of come back to this after it goes through it. But this is how I hyper learn something about Lovable using PoppyAI, but finding the top couple of videos that teaches about a certain application, finding a couple of videos on the features or benefits that I care most about, and then coming up with this, right? So this is how I would apply PoppyAI to learn something at a hyper speed so that I can quickly apply it and create an application, because I truly believe that AI is the biggest technology. I used to work in AI machine learning for Fortune 100 companies, and it has gone a lot faster than I expected. So this is it. You have to learn the skill, and more importantly, how to apply the skill. So hopefully this helped everybody. Again, this is Tuesday. I'm going through it. I'll show you what the output looks like tomorrow, but I hope you all have an amazing Tuesday. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 750.